Aside from that, the Parks and Rec have also made a recommendation for an appointment for Lisa Oakes. She was as an applicant for the Parks and Rec, and the Parks and Rec Advisory Commission wished the town council to appoint her on the Parks and Rec Commission, Advisory Commission.
Okay. Do you want to add that to the following agenda so that we have a memo on it, or do you want to just do it now?
Fine, if you want to just do it, or do you want to consider a Parks and Rec meeting coming before then?
The next meeting will be the first Tuesday of February.
So,
Prior
no,
to-
we'll have,
No, ours will be the first Wednesday.
oh, and it's right before ours.
Correct.
Okay, I don't mind doing the consent to that, but we already did the appointments on the consent agenda.
My apologies, I should have added this to the agenda.
I would make a motion that we accept their recommendation and appoint Lisa to the commission.
Okay,
Second.
all right. Is there any discussion on that? Okay, is everybody in favor of moving forward with the appointment? I'll go down.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
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 All right, we have a full commission. That's great. We'll fill in vacant seats. And congratulations. Thank you. Is that it?
Sorry, yes, that's all I have.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, Mr. What?
Yeah, we have a couple of things that are exciting. We're having a fraud prevention seminar that the River of Life Pentecostal Church is going to be kind enough to give us space for. We've had a number of citizens being ripped off by a horrifying amount of money. And this is going to give us some techniques.
Just get close to it.
Okay, I've always been accused of not needing a microphone before, so that's something brand new. We are having a fraud prevention seminar Tuesday, the 24th, at 5 o'clock at the River of Life Pentecostal Church. A couple of our citizens have lost horrifying amounts of money through fraudsters and scammers. This is going to give you an opportunity to have some real techniques at the workshop to avoid getting ripped off by phone, email scams, text scams, and that sort of thing. I will get some information out on my social media and try to get some other folks to share it as well on how you can register for it. Officer Nate from the Columbia Beach Police Department is going to participate. Chris Lumpkin, who is a local IT expert, and we're going to have some handouts and takeaways so that you can actually have something to work from. The other thing is I wanted to point out a couple of people who have done some extraordinary things for Columbia Beach. A lot of times we don't get to hear about all the good things that happen here in town. And these are a couple of people that need some recognition, in my opinion. One are Bill and Becky Taylor, who Bill is the garbologist for the town. And they have identified people who have needs when Bill is on his route, seeing people who are in distress. They've been knocking on their doors, seeing if they need help. They're also working with one of the local contractors that I know of, as well as the housing authority, and trying to get those people some assistance. So just outstanding work, Bill and Becky. Thank you for that. And then also people that we seldom hear from. And I don't know if Patty is here tonight, but Patty is the forward-leaning face of the Fraternal Order of the Eagles. And many of you know that we had a member who has served our community for 35 years, ran into hard times in regard to health. His wife needed assistance. The Fraternal Order of Eagles was kind enough to help mitigate some of their financial burdens by directly paying their bills. And I'd like to give them my personal thanks for that. And I hope we can as a community as well. That's it.
All right, Mr. Williams?
Good evening, everybody. First meeting I attended for the economic development, my liaison role there, so I'm still kind of learning what they do, their process is, and who all's involved. But it was definitely an enlightening meeting to get to know. Mike Fitzpatrick was out of town, but Kelly Bond, Kelly Edco, several other people were in attendance, Joe Kelly, just to name a few. So I got to meet all the people that are on the Economic Development Committee through the Chamber of Commerce. And some of the things they discussed were priorities for this. They talked about things that they accomplished last year, and then they also talked about some of the priorities and the goals that they have for this coming up year. Let's see, they mentioned that we have a new marketing person, which I didn't realize. We have replaced the person from Black Shack. They talked about brick and mortars and some of their plans to try to advocate for them and help them any way they can. They mentioned something about the emerging Main Street status that we got, and the process is going to take a couple of years. I believe that's already been mentioned. They mentioned the food truck court, and I guess the town's still waiting on a CUP, or at least it was as of the 10th of this month. They talked about business on the town needing to be maybe a little bit more business friendly. So I'm looking forward to hearing some of their suggestions on how the town could maybe streamline processes. I know we did some last year as far as business license and stuff like that, and they mentioned that as an accomplishment of the town, but also mentioned other things that we could do to become more business friendly. They mentioned tourism and how important that is to this town, and needing to come up with some concrete goals to try to achieve for the next year to try to enhance the tourism in the town. Let's see, they discussed some of the different chamber activities that are going on. And this kind of talked about how some of the things that they're working on aligns with the town's goals in our economic development plan, like the Main Street, which I already mentioned, continue to develop and increase retail presence. Maritime, they definitely think we should focus on maritime and get that stronger since we have all the marinas and beaches in town. They mentioned healthcare, which is a big thing and a lot of people have on their minds in this town as far as getting more recruiting in. Workforce resilience development, and then also workforce housing, like discussed that. There was a lot, I mean, it's quite an extensive meeting and a lot discussed, but just a few of the highlights. And then as I learn more about my role as liaison for them, I'll try to get a little bit more involved and see what kind of updates they'd like me to bring to you all as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Williams, you were busy, weren't you? Yes. I did meet with Dr. Mitchell yesterday. It seems like a little longer than that, but we had a very good meeting together, and I feel so much better having heard the different things that are going on in the schools now. I don't want to steal their thunder, but I'm going to steal their thunder. And he has already said this, but both schools are fully accredited, and that is not an easy thing to do in the Commonwealth. It continues to get harder and harder to educate everyone. And I think we do a really great job of doing that. I also have the privilege of sitting on the RCC Board of Directors, and I had that meeting today. And it has come as a thought from some of our citizens that we may be able to start our RCC with their help, a teacher cadet program, and we used to have one here. So I can get with Dr. Kennedy to see if there's anything in the works like that. They did exist at one time, like I said, but I'm not quite sure. The stringency behind licensing is one of the reasons that so many kids don't go into it. And that's a whole other conversation. And that's just about it. Okay.
There's a couple updates. One is I attended the Board of Supervisors meeting at the county, and I'd like to thank our local supervisor, Tim Trivett, who is now the vice chair. Also, I taught CLC for my first of my 4 sessions. Last week, for 6th and 7th grade, I had about 13 or 14 kids, and were very engaged the entire, it was like an hour and a half long, the whole time. And so I don't know what Ms. Diller said about me after I left, but I think, I think it went very well. No, I rearranged a room and everything. I made a mess out of it. But no, it was a lot of good responses from the kids, and a lot of insight from me as mayor to hear from our school kids in that age range. And then lastly, just wanted to appreciate the Coming to the Table group, our own Dr. Self Sullivan, and everybody who spoke at and attended and organized the MLK Junior Day on Monday. It was a wonderful event, and Patrice spoke, and it was, and of course Burkett, who did the music, is phenomenal. And I just wanted to appreciate everyone that was a part of that event, because it is significant for this community, only being the 2nd year. Sort of surprising that it's taken this long to start that initiative, but I'm so glad to see it continuing. That's all I have. Next up is our town, and our town manager spoke at it as well.
Yes.
Representative Town Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good afternoon, members of council, members of the public. Indy Adams Jacobs, Town Manager. With a few updates this month, starting off with our finance department. Just a reminder that water and sewer bills were due at the beginning of January. Penalty and interest begin February 1st. So get into our account offices or pay online by January 30th. Next billing cycle will be mailed out in March with the due date of April 1st.
Heather, is the audio working online? Okay, I checked it. Okay.
Next, under the rehiring slide, we are currently recruiting for an accreditation manager as well as a GIS analyst.
Say we fixed one digital.
Moving on to that, we'll jump into some exciting updates as it relates to new staff members who have joined our team. I'm very excited to introduce our new wastewater treatment plant supervisor, Mr. Harry Kowalski, as well as our Director of Community Development and Zoning, Mr. Don Dooley. And while we get our screens up, I'll ask that they embarrass themselves and come up to the mic really quickly and introduce themselves and a little bit about themselves, where they came from, and why you're excited to be here for me.
My name is Eric Kowalski. I came from originally from.
There you go.
I can talk louder if you want. That's not a problem. My name is Harry Kowalski. I originally came from Hampton Roads Sanitation District and then went to Hanover County, and from Hanover County to here. So I've got 20 years experience in this. I can apply everything I know to help make this town grow better with the wastewater and try to keep you out of trouble. That's my job. And look forward to being here.
Thank you, Harry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Don Dooley. I'm your new Director of Community Development and Planning. Super excited being here. A little bit of background about me. I have about 33 years of experience in community development, all in municipal government. I spent a good deal of my career in California, moved to Virginia. It's I'm a Virginian by choice. I wish I was born here, but wasn't. So now I feel like I'm really home, and the last couple of years I spent in Purcellville, but was really excited about moving down here, and Colonial Beach offers me the opportunity to work for a small town in a beautiful community with wonderful people and resources, and I'm really excited about being here and doing what I can to help facilitate the town's goals. So thank you.
Feet wet at our retreat for this very first day.
I would also like to thank Ms. Kim Speaker, our HR manager, who's helped greatly with our recruitment and retention efforts in her short time. Next, moving on to the police. At our last meeting, we gave an update on the live scan. And happy to report, as of today, Chief informed me that this system is up and live, which will obviously help the town, but also most importantly, our schools with recruitment and really reducing the time as it relates to background checks to really expedite the process on that end. So we were grateful to work collaboratively with Dr. Mitchell as well as our chief of police who implemented this system in probably less than 4 or 5 months. So thank you both. Next, moving on to Parks, Recs, and Events. Mr. Allison, Vice Mayor Allison just alluded to the Parks and Rec Master Plan, as well as some work with the Parks Advisory Commission. There is a survey on our website, as well as on our town social media pages, and there will be 2 events starting next week. A community workshop on Monday at the Colonial Beach Elementary School gym from 6 to 8, and then a public meeting at the same location on Wednesday from 6 to 8. There will also be several focus groups throughout the week as we work on our Parks and Rec Master Plan, which is set to be delivered by July 2023 as the strategic action plan item of council. Next, a quick update on our central drainage area project. Our bid closes next week. We hope to have a consultant or a bidder on board shortly after that, so we can begin that project. That project does have about an 8 to 9 month timeline on that, so we will be giving updates throughout the year as that project progresses. Next, a quick signage update. We are happy to have received 2 conceptual designs from our wayfinding signage consultants, Fraser and Associates. Again, this was a grant received from the Virginia Housing and Community Development to improve our wayfinding signage throughout town. A wayfinding task group was established, gave input late last year, and those 2 design concepts will be getting feedback on those 2 design concepts, and we'll be moving forward with one of the 2. So very excited to move forward with that project. As it will be a 2-phase project, we are moving forward with the first phase of that this spring with the hope to finish the next phase by the end of 2024. Moving on to community partnerships and external relations. Quick update, we were featured in the Virginia Economic Review 4th quarter report. This is through the Virginia Department of Virginia Economic Development Partnership, VEDP. We are featured, Colonial Beach is featured kind of as the poster child for a river oasis near the nation's capital. If you take a look at that report from the end of the 4th quarter, you will see us, I think we're on page 72. And then there's some other localities in the Northern Neck, but we are on the first page of that as well as the 3rd page, highlighting our marinas and our historic Potomac River Festival. So very excited for some of the recognition that we are receiving in the Commonwealth as well as the region. And that will conclude my update.
Thank you. Those signs look really pretty.
Most importantly, a parking sign.
And a bathroom sign and bathrooms. Tom and I are both gonna be on top of that. All right, we don't have any referrals to planning commission this time, I believe. We have, oh, yes.
I'm just curious, is it just for specific items? Like, I was thinking, as a council member personally, we sent something to planning commission like well over a year and a half ago on the short-term rentals, and we still haven't heard anything back from them. I personally would like to hear back, and I guess some other council members would like to know some what's going on.
Their first meeting will be the 4th Thursday of this month, since I've been taking over that position. So I don't know if Kenny can say anything about that from last year or not.
So as far as short-term rentals, there was definitions that we adopted. I'm not sure how many months ago that it was.
October or something.
It was in the definitions portion that talked about short-term rentals and items like that. I'm not sure of any additional. I know they had a subcommittee that kind of went out and looked at the different Airbnbs and stuff like that that were around town. But they did not do an exhaustive list of all those. So if any additional information that you want to provide to the planning commission, I would go through Ms. Karen and determine what other additional information we need out of the short-term rentals.
And I think part of the issue was resolved in the sense that we needed to define them and we needed to ensure that they were permitted in zones, and that was done. So if there's further direction past that, then maybe we need to clarify that. I could put that on next month's agenda to.
Yeah, I do remember hearing, Mr. Shaw, I remember hearing him in some of the meetings that I watched back, and he said it was something that should be addressed sooner or later. You may have been referring to the definitions, but I thought he was talking about the whole thing. So I personally would like to learn more.
I think Vivian picked it up from Shaw.
There were workshops at the Virginia Main Street that addressed short-term rentals and what different communities are doing. And it's a mess. And I don't think our planning commission has been given the guidance as to, what, they don't know what to recommend because it's a mess out there and there's not a lot of legislation.
Let's add that into next month's work session, because I think we need to be clear about what we're asking for, then more than what we've done. If that's.
Thank you.
And I'll also add, having worked with Ms. Say on this a bit, there is a piece of this that is finance and administrative, and then there's a piece that is the planning portion. So Mr. Dooley in his second day has talked to me at length about ways that we work to resolve this issue, or at least bring you all some items for consideration and further refine a program. So he has some models from some other folks in localities in the region, specifically Essex County, that's most recently adopted a new ordinance and a program in November. So we are looking at this actively. And the Planning Commission will be going through sort of a strategic work planning session February 1st. So if you all want to give them guidance before then, we can flush out a realistic timeline and to be able to bring that back to you all.
And also, please, the public, you are invited to attend the planning commission and give input at public comments on this or any other matter. Please, they're not well attended.
No, that's a good reminder. Okay, is there anything else referring to the planning commission then? We'll just put referring to instead of referrals. All right, moving forward, presentations. Mr. Trivett, Vice Chair of the Board of Supervisors. I'm just gonna keep saying it for a whole time.
We forgot that.
Yeah.
Members, Anita Steinberg. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mayor and council members, I know there hasn't been anybody from this town in that position for at least 15 years. And I can recall when I was a young child, Everett O'Neill was the chairman of the Board of Supervisors, which was probably 50 years ago. And I don't know if anybody else in the 5th District has been in one of those positions, but I do appreciate the 3rd and 2nd District supervisors supporting me and the chairman supporting me to take over that role and hopefully, move things forward. We've made such great progress. And that's no denying that anybody that follows those meetings and follows your meetings knows that we've done a lot of good things in the last couple of years, and we've done it as a team and together, and that's very important that we do that and continue to do that. And I think the chairman even told you, Madam Mayor, that he was going to try to come to the beach a little bit more. So I hope that we can convince him how important that is to build that relationship and to continue to build it. Our meetings are still going to be the 2nd Monday of the month unless it's a holiday, and then that meeting would be moved to the Wednesday following the holiday. We voted on a resolution for after we heard a presentation from the Virginia Department of Transportation about the closure of the road over there leading into Westmoreland Shores. And I don't know if it's something that you might consider. The highway department, some of the upper levels are kind of resistant putting that bridge over there on a temporary basis. They've said it could take as long as 2 years to close that road, and that the road could be closed. And then once they're ready to start the work, it could be as long as 8 months. But we do have a business owner, a couple of them that live in this town that have businesses over there. It's a threat to emergency services, because anybody that's taking that detour, it's a long ways around. It's adding another, maybe 10 or longer minutes to get to somebody to save their life. So if that is something that you could consider and possibly do as well, I think it would be appreciated from the people that live in town. It affects us all, because probably all of us go out there and use that road at one time or another. So, but if you can do that, and that would be the appropriate thing to do, I would appreciate that if you would consider that. Don't forget that the fire department installation is on Saturday night. Brian Olive will be catering it, and I think you've received your invitations. I can promise you the dinner is going to be outstanding. Hopefully the company will be as well. And Rob Whitman will be the guest speaker on that night. And I look forward to hearing from him. And I want to thank Dr. Karen Sullivan and Sherry Smith for organizing the Martin Luther King Jr. event. They put a lot of effort into that. I know it takes time to do all that stuff. And like we said, we wish that it would be an overflow crowd where we had to use the other building. But I tell you, just to listen to some of those speakers was, heartwarming. I think Dorothy Tate spoke more than I've heard her say in 3 years, as well as somebody else I know that's on the school board that I won't mention them by name. But I mean, they just did such a great job, as well as our town manager, talking about that event and talking about experiences in their own lives. And it was really a great event. And hopefully next year, if you're available, everybody will be able to come. It was sponsored or facilitated by the Columbia Baptist Church, and that seems to be the biggest church around where most people can come to. But it got pretty full. So,
100, I counted 100.
So I think we were pretty happy with that. But is there any questions from anybody about anything that's going on in the county that I can answer? Yes, ma'am.
So I was at the meeting and all the discussion about the road that's the road that actually goes back to the marina, to Curly's marina campground and back there. And it's redirecting, and the only way to get back there now is to redirect traffic through Westmoreland Shores, which is a 25-mile-per-hour speed zone, and people are speeding. And I cannot imagine if this same situation existed in Stafford County, that something couldn't be done sooner than years. And I just don't know. I'm not sure I understand exactly what you asked us to do or what we can do as individuals to try to push this. Is that reaching out to our legislatures or writing a letter or?
Well, I think to VDOT, and we've talked to David Beal, who's the head engineer, and he suggested that the county do a resolution or send a letter, asking them to figure out a way to step up the process. It's a $2.8 million project. They've got to go in and ask for permission. There's going to be a lot of power lines that need to be moved. So they've got to make contact with all those residents along that road right there. And it's a long process. It wasn't due to be done until 2026, but it's been stepped up because we know there's a barrel over there in the middle of the road now. There's a big hole under there, and they're going to do away with those metal pipes, and they're going to build concrete, and try to redo it. But there's a lot of water that comes through that.
And the
creek right
issue
there.
has existed for over 10 years.
Well,
Now they're telling
you're
us
right.
they just decided to do something and it's going to take this long. It just doesn't seem acceptable to me. And I would think if we made enough noise, that maybe we could
Yeah.
speed it up.
Well, as you heard at our meeting, there was several people from the public that came that I actually talked to before that meeting and encouraged, because a lot of people had no idea what was going on or anything. And they just know those detour signs were up there and didn't have a clue anything. And then VDOT did do a press release. We can build a bridge in 4 years, but we can't, fix a culvert in, a couple months time. I don't know, it seems, like a lot of time, but I think that's what it's gonna take is people talking to VDOT about it. We've sent them a resolution. I don't know, what effect that'll have on the process. They've said that the bridge will have to be removed if they put the bridge there. It's a temporary bridge they've got on order that will allow it to open back up for a period of time till they're ready to do the work, but once the work begins, the bridge has to go. Because they'll have to completely remove the road and they can't create one lane or according to them, which you heard what they said. I mean, they had an engineer there talking about it, so.
And when the season hits, the amount of traffic that goes in back there to the campground is just exponentially increased. And all those people are having to go through a subdivision now.
It is a problem, and the sheriff's department has been made aware of it. The other big problem is, I don't know how many of you ever travel the other direction, go down Holly Vista, but that road, if it floods, you can't pass through there where that pond is. It's a huge dip, and I mean, that water right there has got 4 or 5 feet deep at times, and that would shut them off. I mean, if that occurred, that would be a disaster, because you'd have to figure out how in the world to get them off that little island right there if that occurred. So, but yes, I would just encourage you to contact, I don't know about legislation, what they can do about it, but VDOT is in charge of it. And that's who we were, told to contact, was to make them aware that it's really imperative they do something, a quicker fix, or, temporarily do something, to try to relieve the traffic from going all the way around. And it's going to tear up all those roads, Rolando, Shore Drive, all those streets over there. They're going to all be tore up with people. It's going to be more accidents right there, Morgan's Corner, that anybody knows. There's several people that I know, including myself, that's almost been hit by cars that doesn't realize there's a stop sign there, and they fly right through there. And it's really dangerous. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully we can do something to help it. But, y'all see David Beal. I'll be talking to him again. If he has any questions, I'll have him contact you. And, maybe that'll help as well. The more input he gets, the more people that have conversations about it, I think the more they'll realize that they got this bridge coming in that is actually purchased for storage, for emergencies. And why they don't want to put that in there, I can't answer that question. I know it costs money to do those things, but they need to do something. Any other questions?
No, I just want to underscore the fact that if you haven't gone back into that neighborhood and seen the detour and how you get routed to get where you could have just hop, skip, jump, almost seen where you were supposed to be. And it's pretty shocking. And it's certainly more than an inconvenience. It is definitely a safety concern. It's an economic concern. We have businesses over there, but we also have Pleasure Beach business owners that live there and need to get here. I mean, there's a lot of connectivity with that, neighborhood. And so
Well, it's going to be a huge safety issue in the summer when those campers start coming and
oh yeah, there's RVs.
RVs, and it's going to really create some big chaos there, I think, with all of that going on. And that's a busy place in the summertime.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll listen to us and come up with a temporary solution that will be better and shorter than what they're actually saying that it's going to take.
Yeah.
So anyway, good seeing you. Thank you.
Oh, I also wanted to reiterate to you, I know I told Chairman Fisher that I would invite him and the rest of the board of supervisors in the spring for a golf cart tour. I know, Mr. Tribbett, you live here, so maybe you could, but I want to make sure that invitation is extended to all supervisors. We'll set that up in the spring. We had to remind me. All right, Clean Beach Public Schools, Dr. Mitchell.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, good evening, Town Council members, and good evening, everyone in the audience. So today marks officially 1 year for me in Colonial Beach. I want to say thank you because even though I know you're doing a great job doing this, I want to say thank you to the mayor, the town manager, obviously Dr. Self Sullivan, Ms. Smith, and all those who attended the MLK celebration. It's a tradition for my wife and I to attend MLK celebrations in Prince William. This year we attended the event here, and she came with me, and I think moving forward, we will make sure that we attend the event here because it was truly inspirational, because I learned so much about the history of some of the pioneers and people who made such a major difference in Colonial Beach. Obviously, it was great to hear Mr. Burkett. I've heard a lot of things about Mr. Burkett Library, and to get a chance to see him sing was really a treat. While I'm on the thank yous, I want to thank Vicky Roberson really for a great meeting yesterday. I think we're going to have some great collaboration together, and she gave me some great historical context and ideas in terms of being able to further communication with the community. So I appreciate that very much. I also want to thank a couple of people real quick, Mr. Lush, Mr. Kramer, Ms. Flight, and Ms. Karabchik. I know they had the polar plunge. That was a huge event. Unfortunately, I was sick. I truly was sick on that day and was not able to attend. But I heard it was a tremendous success, and I want to thank those folks for the school division who participated in the event. A couple of quick updates, capital improvement projects at the school level. We just finished adding some awnings to try to protect the school, our high school, particularly the gym. So we added some new awnings across all of the exterior doors. That was completed, and this morning we received a 40 passenger bus that was delivered today. Just trying to update some of our fleet. So the bus was delivered today. We are in the process of finishing discussions around our new strategic plan. The goal is to bring a final product to the board in April. I want to thank Dr. Sullivan for really all of her input and giving us some really great feedback and a historical perspective in terms of trying to create a new plan for the next 3 to 5 years. I am also in the process of finishing a 3-year CIP plan for the division. I am hoping to bring that to the board in March, possibly April for approval. We are heading into budget season. So some of you who are parents who have children in the school division, you probably received a survey from me that came out yesterday. We are asking parents for their input in terms of the school budget and how we utilize our funds to really support our students. I looked at the responses that are coming in, and so far we had almost 30 parents and all staff providing feedback. So we're going to leave that open for the next week and a half, and then use that to plan for the upcoming school year. I do have to speak to this. I know it's all over the news. It's taking the country by storm. It's all over Northern Virginia, and it's some hot topics around some of the decisions that the governor is really pushing, particularly around providing parents more autonomy in schools. And if you haven't heard, one of the things that's happening right now is around how school divisions are informing parents about merit scholarships. It looks to me, every time I look in the news, there is another large school division on the front page. I have received 2 media requests for Colonial Beach Public Schools and how we do business in terms of informing parents about merit scholarships. And I do want to say that our process is very simple. If a student scores between 14 and 1500, typically the College Board inform them. They inform us, we then send a letter home to parents informing them, and depending on the number of students who meet that criteria, we typically have an assembly to recognize kids. And so that's something that we do as a division. We do not have, as of the last admission for this current school year in October, we don't have any students who did qualify for that merit scholarship. So we didn't have to send anything home. But it's a hot topic. We're getting a lot of media requests about it. I assume it's going to be in the news probably for the next couple of weeks. The other thing that is really hitting the news, and I want to speak to it just to kind of talk a little bit about our school division. Unfortunately, we had an incident down in Newport News where a 6-year-old student brought a gun to school and eventually fired that gun and really injured his classroom teacher. That's been a topic among all superintendents across the 132 localities across the Commonwealth. As a school division, is where we are in terms of our processes. At our high school, all students who enter our building go through metal detector, we check all bags. We don't have such a process at the elementary level. However, in light of the situation, we applied for a school safety security grant. We have purchased the new Evolve metal detector or weapons detector, I should say, system that will be delivered to our high school. It is my hope that we are going to apply for a similar process for our elementary school to make sure things are just pretty much safe. We are judicious about checking kids' backpacks if we hear from another student or from a parent or a community member that they may have something. We work with our SROs and our principals to check backpacks. I read a story this morning that this 6-year-old's backpack was checked. Nothing was found, but then somehow, some way, he ended up in possession of the gun and firing it, while he was in school. So there's not an exact science to it, but when we do know something, we typically act upon it. And if it's something that's serious involving the police department, I will work with the chief, quickly to try to get some resolution. With that being said, I'm going to stop there and take any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, that's a good segue into the public safety quarterly report. Here.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. The quarterly report is going to be for the last quarter of 2022. Either you can go through one more slide from there. Okay, so the first segment of this presentation is for the police department, and it's our quarterly statistics and trends. As you can see on that graph, or maybe not, there was a total of 82 offenses reported for the quarter. The number one there on the far left is 19, and that's for information reports. Those are not criminal reports that we take. The highest one for a criminal matter was larcenies of all others. So things that were not grand larcenies, but minor larcenies at number 8 for the total of 82 offenses for the quarter. Next slide, please. This graph represents the arrests for the same time period of 23 total arrests. So we're about 28% of arrests for offenses reported, just keeping in mind that 19 of those 82 offenses are non-law enforcement criminal matters. So that statistic overall for criminal offenses is higher than 28%. This is the trends for the hours. As you can see, it looks like there's a spike mid-morning when people are waking up, and then again when people are getting home from work, in the time frame for that quarter. And then the day of the week is highest on Fridays for criminal activity within the community. This is for traffic enforcement, and this graph demonstrates warnings on the left versus citations. So we're about 2/3 warnings for 1/3 citations for traffic enforcement in town. The next graph is for the volunteer fire company. They had a total of 29 fire calls and so about 50 EMS calls, other public service calls for a total of 296 hours, personnel hours for the quarter. And their members per call was almost 4 members per call. So when they're sending out apparatus, they're having anywhere from 3 to 4 volunteers on that apparatus when they go out. And then the next graph on the next slide is the rescue squad information. And they're averaging about 4.5 minutes response time per call. And they're responding to a little bit more response calls and transport calls. But we all know that Fitzgerald is out there during the day responding to a lot of things by herself, and she's not able to respond to with the medic unit to transport. So that's their information regarding the transport versus non-transport calls that the rescue squad completed for the quarter. And that includes the public safety quarterly report for the fourth quarter of 2022.
Okay. Any questions for Chief? All right, Ms. Oaks?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I'm going to present the second quarter financial report for fiscal year 23. Now, if we get it pulled up here. This report will cover October of 22 through December of 22. Next slide. We'll start with the general fund. This slide shows what we budgeted, what the budget is for the general fund. In the middle of that graph is our second quarter expenses and revenues. I just want to point out the revenues of the $4,212,000. We had $2.5 million collected for real estate at a rate of 94.5% of bill for December, and $557,000 in personal property with a collection rate of 74%. And you can see the year-to-date numbers at the end. We are on target with our budget right now. Next slide just shows you the breakdown, where the money's coming from. And that's on the left, and on the right, what departments were the money's being spent out of. We'll go to our next slide. We'll go to the sewer department. And again, here's your budget, your current expenses for the quarter and the year to dates. Our sewer second revenue has sewer billings of $515,400. And we have normal operating expenditures there. Only thing I want to point out there, we have debt service payment of $105,000. Then you see again, next slide, the breakdown of where the money is coming in, what charges we're doing, sewer, wastewater processing, sewer connection, et cetera. And then the departments, wastewater treatment and sewer, and then our debt service. And moving along, and again with the water, our revenue for the second quarter includes $271,000 of billing for water service and a debt service of $43,485. Moving to the next slide, and you'll see the breakdown where the revenue is coming in and where it's being spent. Next, our disbursements for the month or for the quarter. Next slide, please. Our accounts payable from October 1st to December 31st was a little over $2 million. Next slide, and our payroll numbers. We cut payroll checks for the quarter, $562,9721, And related taxes, $194,962.04. And that concludes my report for the second quarter. Is there any questions?
Yes, Ms. Webb?
I don't see the actual quarterly report in the packet. Did we get it?
I'm not sure how to had it at that point. This was prepared for the retreat, but I don't think she had it at that point.
Okay. I knew our bylaws said that it should be sent within 24 hours of the council meeting. I want to ask if we could possibly get it like in an email, digital format before each quarter.
Yes, and it'll be put on our website also.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Do you have anybody signed up for citizen input tonight?
Yes, just one. Ms. Vaughn.
Ms. Vaughn? Welcome.
Thank you. Am I supposed to push the button?
Yes. And I think you know, say your name and address then. 3 minutes for individual, 5 minutes per group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Woods Vaughn. I'm a business owner of the Riverview Inn on 24 Hawthorne Street. I'm a member of the Colonial Beach Chamber of Commerce, the Economic Development Council, and a resident at 2 Kettle Bottom Drive. I am here tonight on behalf of some misconceptions, some misinformation in reference to the Community Heart and Soul Project, our program. There's an interest to explore this program at this time to see if it would be a benefit to our town as we grow and build our community. Again, it's an exploration. There is no commitment by anyone at this time. Please note that Community Heart and Soul is not an NGO. It is a nationwide program that has been proven to improve citizen engagement in communities. It's a program to capture the input and voices of the people who work, live, and play for the future of Colonial Beach as a whole. Community Heart and Soul would include all of the community of 22443, to include all of those who work, live, and play in Shellfield Shores, Westmoreland Potomac Shores, Placid Bay, F-Tide, Oak Grove, and Colonial Beach proper. It's a new year. We have the opportunity to create our community to be the best it can be. If a decision is made to move forward, it will be based on the collective voices of the residents of our town of Colonial Beach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Also have an email comment from Mr. Kelly and one from Ms. Say.
Okay, I'm gonna first ask if there's anybody else that would like to come up for citizen input before we read the email comments. Okay, seeing none, then I'm just gonna go forward with the emails. Whenever you're ready. Okay.
Mr. Kelly wrote in, dear Mayor, Shaken Council members, I'm writing to request comments on 3 items that I know our citizens would appreciate an update. First is Gateway and Wayfinding Signage Program. Tab A of the council package includes a request to transfer funds from a $30,000 grant for Gateway and Wayfinding signage. That's fine and should be approved. What's interesting is that this is a needed program for the town and it's a tourism business. Will you please provide a summary of the program and related timing for implementation? Tourist season is only a short time away. Second one is Washington Avenue Sewer Project. Can you give the citizens an update on the start of the Washington Avenue Sewer Project? This project will impact every business south of Colonial Avenue and the ability of residents, tourists, and visitors access to the point. A firm start date on this year-long project would be appreciated by all. And the last one is new parking program. I understood that the town was going to develop a new parking program to be implemented on April 1st. What's the status of the new program? Is there a draft program that will provide for business and citizen review and comment? A number of good ideas were discussed last year, and I'm hopeful that the best ideas can be incorporated in this year's program. And thank you, Joe.
I think Joe wrote that in before our town manager update. I think 2 of those 3 items were already less than the town manager update, but we'll make sure we get back with Mr. Kelly about all 3. And Ms. Day?
I just want to make sure we're on.
Okay.
Miss Say writes in, good evening. I was planning to come to the meeting tonight to participate in public comment, but I just realized that I have a conflict. Because I cannot attend the meeting tonight, I respectfully request that the following comments be shared. First, I congratulate Mr. Wood, Ms. Roberson, and Mr. Allison on your elections and re-elections. Yours is without qualification one of the most engaged and hardworking boards or councils I've had the pleasure of working with. And I feel confident that the town is in great hands and will continue on its path of progress. As you engage in your strategic planning sessions, I encourage you to keep what I consider a matter of paramount concern at the top of the list, a new town hall. The current town hall building has so very many challenges, and I am certain I am not even aware of all of them. That it definitely is not a pleasant environment in which to work. I am not suggesting an expensive or grandiose structure, but a new building is sorely needed. Further, having worked with localities across the Commonwealth and observed what this means to localities, I believe that a new town structure would benefit the town in several ways through improved staff morale, improved security with better law enforcement facilities, improved ability to recruit and retain high-level staff, improved face of the town for economic development purposes, and improved curb appeal constituting leading by example for other property owners. Improved facilities for citizens, visitors, and newcomers in the conduct of public business, and improved facilities for public meetings. I encourage each of you to visit the current town hall and really look at the facility, every corner. I encourage you to talk in depth with the town manager about the many problems with the facility, not to mention the space constraints. And I encourage you to consider not only working in the office day in and day out, but trying to recruit good candidates in this challenging employment environment to work in the facilities. Simply put, a new town hall building is, in my humble opinion, a true need, and for all the reasons I listed and others I may have overlooked, I truly hope it will be in your future. I plan to see you at a meeting soon.
Anything else? All right. I encourage everybody to use the bathroom at the current town hall too. Maybe that gives some perspective. If you don't know, it's kitty toilet. It's fine. Okay.
Even I complain.
No.
I'm the shortest one that goes in there.
All right, I see nobody else for citizen input. Moving forward to old business, resolution 0223, adoption of the 2023 bylaws and rules of procedure. And this is the clean version from our attorney.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
Is this the version before our attorney was delayed? Was there supposed to be another version?
This is after.
This is the after one.
This is the after one. And this is actually, yeah, okay. Let me make sure the clean version is the after one. I'll double check that for you. I know the red line version is the after one.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Stefan.
Hi there.
You're up there.
Yes, thank you for having me up there. I can tell you what's in the packet, if you might. The top version, the first one, is the latest version that I sent to all of you and to the clerk. The second version is what we worked off of, that was essentially the 2022 version that had been updated to simply put the word 2023 and strike the 2022 language in the footer. The third version in there is a red line, and that red line shows only the changes from the first version that I had done for you all, and you had comments on, and I had invited questions. So that red line just shows the changes between the two versions. We had talked about doing a more fulsome version, but that is not in your packet. So that's what you're looking at.
Okay, you cut in and out, but I think that the gist of that is that the top version is the cleanest, latest version of all of the changes.
That's right.
Okay, we're losing time. Okay. Yeah, that's the top one. I just double checked. The one that says clean version on it. And then it stops because there's no divider, so it kind of can get quickly lost with the second copy, and then of course the third copy. Is there a motion to adopt the clean version, the top one?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a discussion on that one?
On overall,
On the top version, yes, on the adoption of the top.
yeah, I did have a few questions. Maybe, Stefan, maybe you can clarify for me. One of my questions was on the liaison roles. And I see you went back through and cleaned up the language to add the town manager to all of the different positions that had direct reports to her. But I was curious, you put in the, I believe, unless I read it wrong, you put in Parks and Rec because of, say, Bobby Duke, for example, was Parks and Rec, so she should attend that. But you did not put for Planning Commission, for example, and as far as I know, our planning zoning guy, Don, would be attending those meetings, so that would be a requirement for her to be there because she supervised him. And so I was curious of the difference. Why Parks and Rec requires the town manager to be there to attend the meeting. And also I'm a bit concerned about these meetings we're requiring her to start attending. I'm guessing she'll have to attend the way you have this written, she'll have to attend all the economic development meetings as well.
So I can just quickly, because the audio is a little hard for Stefan. When it says town manager, that is when it is referring directly to the department, not the commission meeting. So there is clearly the Parks and Recreation Department, and then separately bulleted is the commission. So we don't think we're requiring the town manager to attend every single committee, commission, advisory. I mean, that would be impossible. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was
think,
thinking, that was a lot.
Yeah, it's a good
Is
point.
that correct, Stephanie?
Yes, and I understand you all are having trouble with my audio. Can you hear me okay?
Better now, much better.
Okay, I don't know what I'm doing differently, but I'll blame it on my arm. Yes, that is 100% correct. It's only when it's a department that is under the control and supervision of the town manager was she made a co-liaison, and that's not very many times. But the Parks and Rec is a good example of that. Yes to the department, no to the commission. I believe the other question had to do with the Planning Commission. And from what I was hearing, were we talking about a council member being the liaison?
Well, I think the mayor clarified and you concurred with her, the planning commission, the zoning administrator would be, well, I guess you call him the director of community development in zoning.
Correct.
He's an employee of the town manager, but that's only if, say, the liaison Karen meets directly with him, then the town manager should attend, but the town manager does not have to attend the planning commission meetings.
No.
Okay, that's what I was trying to clarify.
Yes.
Oh, and I also wanted to thank you for, everybody honestly not know, but I had a question about the town treasurer and how, because from I've been told in history, the town treasurer reported to the council, and that was kind of a separation of duties between the person in charge of the town government and the finances, but that's changed over the years. And Stefan, you basically said that you couldn't find exactly in the charter when it changed, but now council appoints a CFO, not a treasurer. So we don't technically have a treasurer anymore. Correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, there was, I got another thing, for council to entertain.
Sure.
This was actually one of the debate questions this past year, and I've heard several residents say they would like the change the citizen input from 3 minutes to 5 minutes. I would support that, if anybody, I don't know, a council member would. It's not that often that people want to speak that long anyway. I personally don't think it's a problem, but I refer to the rest of the council if there's an appetite to modify that to 5 minutes instead of 3 minutes.
And the motion to modify citizen input from 2 minutes to 5 minutes. Is there a second on that? Second. Okay, is there further discussion on this point? A sub point of the other point. Is everybody in consensus to move to 5 minutes?
Should we do a roll call?
Sure. Okay. Mr. Wood?
Aye.
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 Good. Moving to 5. Okay, is there any other points of discussion other than that amendment?
There was one other thing I wanted to bring up. I had in my notes here. That we're required to give citizens answers to their questions, like, if they leave their email and stuff like that. I'd like to ask that when the citizens are getting the answers, if it could either be done in public at the next meeting, or if council could be at least updated on what the answer was, so that we're all on the same page of what the citizen was told on a public question. I don't know if that's something that needs to get put in the bylaws, but that's something I'd like to see.
I think we can have procedural guidance if there's a response to public citizen input that town council be CC'd on that. I don't see any reason why that's an issue.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Sounds good. All right, so there's a motion on the floor to adopt the clean minutes. I think we've approved change with the one change from 3 to 5 in section 3-6 public comment. And so I'm going to take a roll call vote on adopting the bylaws as amended.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
There we go. We have bylaws. Wonderful. Okay. Town Center audio and video update. Ms. Oliver, right? Yeah.
Okay, so back at the work session in December, I brought to you what the status was of our audio and video throughout town center. At that meeting, it was asked to go ahead and contact an AV company. The AV company came out and looked at everything and provided us a quote of close to $18,500. Let me show you what the difference is. Okay, so currently we're using 2 wireless microphone receivers, 1 wired microphone receiver, 11 working wired microphones, and 5 working wireless microphones on 1 sound sound mixer. So out of this brand, there's only 1 working. All 4 of this brand works, and all 11 of this brand works. And then it's just a receiver and sound mixer. What is proposed from Liam Hartman is Yes, so we would keep the wired mics. They give us additional mics, so that way every seat would have a microphone. They provide a simpler receiver amplifier system. And then instead of having a sound mixer, it would be all touchscreen. And right here in front of me instead of in the back. And they would redo all of the drops. So they do new drops for every wired microphone. And it's 18,500, and that is not including anything to do with video. This is just all sound. And new speakers in the ceilings.
Yes, Mr. Wood?
Do have a question, and since I'm fairly new, what problem would we be solving with going to the new equipment?
Right now we have 5 ports out for the wired microphones. There's one behind the mayor and then this wall, and then I think there's one port over there that doesn't work. So we're relying on the wireless mics, and I have the 2 wireless receivers kind of hijacked into the sound mixer in the back, but just kind of plugged things in and did it till it worked. So, and I'm not sure how old the wireless mics are. And like I said, on the one that has 8 wireless mics, that receiver, only one of the wireless mics works. And there's always a problem with the mics going in and out, like how you had the issue earlier. We had to just give it a little tappy tap and it started cutting back in. So yeah, that's the issue. And then I don't know how old the drops are, so I don't know when the next time one of the mics, wired mics will.
Okay, but if I learned to tappy tap, why would that say it's 18 grand?
It might, but that all depends if, because that's what I thought was in here was the mic, but it's behind the wall.
Gotcha.
Like I redid the cables and everything and it still wasn't doing anything,
Gotcha.
so it was the port.
Rick, I had to share a microphone with Karen for my first couple of months on council, because I didn't have working mic, and I know the town manager and town attorney multiple times have had to switch them all back and forth everywhere to be able to listen. And I get a lot of complaints from citizens. I didn't mean to interrupt, but just thought that would be helpful. But I'm sure most of us, I know Karen said she's gotten a lot of complaints too. People can't hear the video.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how much that has to do with the mics as it does with the internet. So I want to make sure people understand that. So this system may not solve all the issues with the live broadcast.
Yes, Mr. Wood?
Oh, how does the sound get to the broadcast?
I did have the web mic hooked up that just gets all of the sound from the speakers. So now the sound is coming straight into the cameras. So the cameras are receiving the sound and streaming it onto the internet, onto YouTube. And we upgraded our internet last year. So now it's close to $300 a month to get the fastest upload. Because with streaming, you need a fast megabytes per second upload. So we have the second highest.
What was the issue with the audio on the live stream earlier this meeting?
I just had to select the right. It was going to the camera, but it's like you have to select a certain the certain label of that camera.
User related, I mean, no offense. It's easily solvable.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
trial and error, just, yeah.
Got it.
It was easier when I had the web mic plugged in, but that broke, so I just have to buy a new web mic.
Okay. You're talking about the little fuzzy thing that was down there. Oh, yeah, okay. It's not fuzzy. I don't know. Mhm.
How old is this equipment? I'm sure it's very.
The wired microphones and the new receiver was from 2017. The sound mixer and the drops behind the wall predates that, and I don't know how far back it predates that.
If you look at the sound mixer, it looks like it's 1988.
Carried over your shoulder.
It's very, very antiquated. and not where it needs to be.
So when this company came in, did they evaluate the system and recommend this, or did they just say, we can replace it for this?
They did not evaluate, they just said it all needs to, they just said to rip everything out, which they wouldn't have to take the walls out because we have the drop ceiling tiles. So they would just be able to pull the wires and drop new wires. But he didn't get a toner and test out any of the ports or anything like that. So he just came in and said, this is what you need.
Is there any other equipment that he could discover is still causing a problem after he does all of this?
Probably not, because they would drop all new wires and it would all be all new equipment. No sound, there would be a sound mixer, the receivers, everything would be new.
Would it be warranted?
Yes.
Is there any way to add additional mic drops from the ceiling protect? Like a lot of our government facilities and things like that through work usually have a drop mic around different areas to help with the audio. Is that something we can look into as well?
I can ask them, yes.
I'm still not quite convinced to spend $18,000 just to put it out there. The mics have worked tonight. I don't mind sharing a mic with you, Vicki. I don't mind sharing a mic with Kenny either. I don't know. I'm just putting that out there.
Madam Mayor, it doesn't sound like it's a care on fire emergency. It's a nice to have as opposed to talk to your mic.
Yeah. Again, user error. User error.
$18,000.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like a hair on fire.
Well, it was, there was a time, to Mr. Williams' point, where it seemed like no mics in here worked. Okay, so I will say there was a time then in which nobody could hear anybody and there were a lot of complaints. If through this evaluation, things seem to be working better, or we find, like, go back to that other slide real quick. That 4 set, you said all 4 of them are working, right? So, I mean, how much does one of those cost?
A little under 1,000, I think.
Under $1,000. So we need to get another one of those as a backup. That seems to be maybe in a step forward without the full leap. Yeah.
And how?
Oh, wait, saw Mr. Williams first. Mr. Williams?
Oh, I just wanted to remind everybody, we spent like $20,000 on electrical hookups for our food trucks on Town Hill. It may or may not be a permanent space for them. And to me, the citizens being able to hear us is extremely important for open government. And so I think it's a pretty important thing, my opinion.
How important is replacement of the soundboard? I'm not really up to date on all of this stuff, and I know that AV equipment has improved dramatically.
I think the major concern is when it works, and when it doesn't, it doesn't. So, I mean, the other thought process of this, in my mind, is if we are looking at getting a new town hall at some point in time, you're buying all this equipment again, because these drops will probably not work. You will definitely get a new sound bar. You know, you're probably talking more than $18,000 for a new system at a new facility. Adding additional mics for backup to make sure we have the availability at a cost of $1,000 does sound more appeasing than $18,000 of taxpayer money.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I think a backup system is important because we don't want to be left with micless for the exact reason that you said. That's right.
I personally am okay with just feeling it out and seeing how, because right now tonight things are working okay. If we get 2 or 3 meetings in and then start having problems, then we probably ought to, officially address it. to me, actually, the most important thing is just ensuring that the video and audio online works, but to me, because a lot of people aren't able to attend. And I said, oh, did you see the meeting already? What we talked about? But I couldn't hear half of it, and first part was cut off. And so to me, that's actually the most important piece of this call.
Right. Okay. Is there a consensus to see how it goes for the next 3 months in order, maybe, set of 4 for the backup?
I would move the hold off, yes.
Hold on,
Complete.
completely.
Yeah, because there is still a discussion of a new town hall, and that's not a foregone conclusion, but if I understand Mr. Allison's point, we'd have to buy the equipment again anyway, correct?
Well, in best scenario though, a new town hall, if we voted on it tonight, wouldn't be built and equipped for a couple of years, you know?
Right.
So yeah, that's the way down the road.
Right, and tonight would not be a good night.
Okay, Mr. Moncur, you look like you had something to say. The motion is to wait and see it out and see how the next few months go, that we've done since they're working tonight. Okay? Delay is good, says Mr. Moncur, not into his mic again.
In the meantime, could we maybe get like a discovery or investigation on the cameras? Or are you just saying that they should be good going forward? The video and audio online?
Yeah, the only reason why in the past that, so I think it was the last meeting, it's like 4 different parts, because I was trying to figure out how to do the sound, because the mic broke in the middle of the meeting. So I was trying to figure out how to get the sound back on, so it was like 4 parts. So usually when the mic's working right, the mic, and the cameras, there's no problem that I know of. And believe me, when there's no sound, everybody lets me know in the middle of the meeting. There's no sound, and I try to, fix it as soon as I can. So I just need to go buy another mic, and it should be fine.
And if everybody would get really close to their mic when they speak, that makes, and even if you're speaking from out there, just because we can hear you in this room doesn't mean they can hear you online. So even if you have a very loud voice, you need to use the mic.
It all starts with me, right? With each one of us. Okay, are we ready to move forward then? Is there any further discussion on that item at this time?
So at this point, we're just holding off, doing nothing.
I think that is the consensus at this point, unless somebody wants to make a motion and do something otherwise.
And then Heather, you didn't say you needed anything like to make what we got work.
I have to go to Best Buy and get one of these for like $30. So,
Maybe get 2 in case one breaks. Okay,
So we'll revisit this in a couple months.
sounds good. We'll revisit this when everybody's mics break next meeting. Then we'll know. At least we'll know. I know, see, I brought it up, so it's bound to happen now for the next meeting. Okay, if I don't see any further discussion on this item, we're going to move to the closed meeting portion, and we'll take a 10-minute recess. I move now that the town council of the town of Colonial Beach, Virginia, convene in closed meeting for the following purposes and to discuss the following subjects, all of which are exempt by the Virginia law from public meeting requirements as indicated, namely pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1, discussion of performance of duties specific public office, specific public officers and appointees of the town council, including the town clerk, and pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A3, discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose or of the disposition of a publicly held real property, where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiation strategy of the town council. So moved. All right, second. All in favor? Aye. All right, 10-minute recess and we'll get into the session. Thank you.